Make it. There we go.
Welcome back.
Welcome, folks. How you doing out there in internet land, folks?
How are you doing out there in real life land?
Me or the guests?
You and the guests, but talking to you.
Good enough.
Good enough, huh?
Good enough.
We're coming up on our 10-year anniversary next week.
That's pretty exciting.
Yes.
10 years. Woo!
What's the secret? Maybe we should have done an episode on the secret to a 10-year marriage.
Well, we have to get to 10 years first.
Okay. So if we make it to, Tuesday?
If we make it a few more days,
We're on the home stretch.
We'll release an episode on that.
Did you get me something made of tin? Is it tin?
A Coke can.
Oh, that'll do.
Yeah.
Maybe a bubbly.
No, Coke. We don't drink Coke
Yeah,
here.
maybe a bubbly.
A bubbly can.
Something in a tin can.
Yeah.
Aluminum.
Aluminum's probably not tin, actually.
Is it aluminum?
I don't know.
Okay. You always say not cardboard.
Plywood.
Plywood.
Well, I was just make the joke. What's an 8-year anniversary? The plywood anniversary.
Yeah, I feel like you have not got me a plywood gift, though.
I fixed the kitchen sink there underneath with plywood.
That's true. Okay, that counts. That's my gift.
Yeah. No, this year I'll get you something.
No. That's all right. We have a little getaway plan, so that's our gift to each other. We're not big gift people for things like that, so it's all good. Experiences,
which is a good segue into our guest, who is abundant in experiences, Mr. Adam Nimmo. I think that's how you say your last name, Adam. Sorry if it's wrong. Nimmo.
Mm-hmm. We tossed a coin as to who was going to pronounce it, huh? No, we think that's right.
But yeah, he's a drummer with a YouTube and online presence called Drummer to Drummer, where he does this super cool thing where he interviews other drummers about who they are, what they do, and then he plays songs with them with 2 drum kits set up facing each other, and he's playing their songs with them.
It is super fun to watch these videos. I mean, I'm not going to talk too much about Drummer to Drummer because we talked to Adam about it and the project and how it came to be and some of the musicians that he has featured, but just bother to go watch the videos because they're really entertaining and exciting and energizing. And I just love how he has taken time out of his life to showcase the voices who he feels are deserving of this platform. And him being a passionate drummer himself, of course, can relate to those stories. But he recognized that not always do those band members get to be the center of attention. And that's exactly what he's done with Drummer to Drummer.
And he's done a lot of touring himself. Like, he was signed to the label Arts and Crafts, one of the biggest labels in Canada, biggest indie labels.
Yeah.
Toured all around the world. Yeah, his band, Most Serene Republic, has done huge slots, like opening for The Strokes, which is super cool. And then a lot of Canadian bands who are on Arts and Crafts, Stars, Broken Social Scene, names that are synonymous with the Canadian music scene, really.
Household names.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He's done it all. You could tell that we were only scratching the surface of his experiences, and just he's a great storyteller, which comes out all over the place.
Yeah.
Welcome to Make It with Mike and Kristen.
Where creative people talk about what they make and what making it means to them.
And I particularly liked Adam's reflections on what making it means to him at this point in his life. And we get into a little bit of how our lifestyle and values and ambitions can change over time. And I just felt like he really articulated this part of his experience well in the interview. One of my favorites.
We start off the conversation with a lot of kind of drumming talk, I guess, and that side of things. But then it gets into a more philosophical realm, which is pretty fascinating, and I think we're very much on the same page with a lot of things.
Yeah, well, he is a beautiful spirit. I think that really shines through. He has a lot of energy, a lot of joy. lot of hope.
Yeah.
And he's the kind of guy I think you just want to hang out with and spend more time with.
Yeah,
He told
love
us
to-
about his curling team as well off air that I feel is deserving of a shout out. That I just want to say there's many layers to this guy.
What's their name?
Something mustard. You're putting me on the spot. I'm so sorry. I know that their uniforms have dripping mustard, and the season plate is their sponsor, who we also featured on the podcast. So
Anyway, follow him online and you'll unearth his curling team name. But a great guy, great drummer, and great storyteller. Let's jump into it.
Ooh.
Make it.
During COVID, you would do like a split screen. You would have a Zoom shot of us talking to each other. And then I would have like a whole drum medley that I'd plan for them. And then say, okay, drum that, get 2 camera angles if you can. And then send it to me. And then I drum to their drumming. But then you kind of just like split screen it, make it look like we're playing together.
Yeah.
So definitely, clearly not playing together, but it looks like you're playing together.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my buddy Norm in St. Louis to do it, and he really bought into it. Like, he had a cool background, and he got cool camera angles and did really cool drumming techniques. And then I just played to him. And then I even got Steve Lamos from American Football, Greg from Tokyo Police Club, and Mike Sleeth, who's the drummer for Shawn Mendes. And that was like a way to stay creative during the pandemic, which was so hard to do when you're working a job, you got a toddler. And it's like, I set up the drums in her playroom. I did a time-lapse intro for all the episodes and shot it in Halifax, and we kind of did a new one for the new season, and we kind of replicated that for the quarantine sessions, but we just set up my drums in Charlotte's playroom, and she helped me set up the drums. So
Nice
it's like this
soothing
little
lullabies.
Oh, so good. And I even got like one of those light brights and made drummer to drummer on light bright. And
Nice.
Charlotte helped me set up the drums. So the time lapse is her helping me set up the drums, and then she gives me a kiss on the cheek, and it's just so cute. I love
very
watching
sweet.
just the intro of those. I have a hard time watching anything that I do afterwards. It's just like a thing about me. And then those are the ones that I don't mind watching, because then I'll just watch the time lapse with her and just remind you of simpler times and
Wait
this
for
little
her
kid.
moment.
Yeah, it was so cool. And she even like plays the drums on it and stuff. Yeah.
Are you doing the videos in person exclusively otherwise?
Yeah, I in a dream world, I'm able to do this a little bit more like a 2-prong effect, where you got your traditional episodes where you're in person, but then you have the ability to maybe do what we're doing here and then have a podcast kind of element where you're interviewing people and then drumming with them afterwards. Or maybe don't even do the drumming. The drumming is kind of my favorite part, but the stories drummers have are just so interesting, right? It's the whole reason I started this show is, you know, my time as a drummer touring, no one ever wanted to talk to me in the press. And I find drummers are some of the most interesting people on the planet. So I wanted to give a voice to them, and then here we are. So just being able to listen to a drummer tell stories would be kind of interesting. It's a pretty niche market. You might only get drummers listening to it, but I mean, I assume
Hey, that's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Like knowing your niche and very much focusing on that is incredibly important with something like this. Like, we've gone to conferences around the US and Canada about podcasting, and the biggest thing they say is nail your niche, focus in as much as possible.
Yeah.
And once you get that, then everyone will flock to it who's into that idea. If you try to do something general, it's like, who are we going after?
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually talked about this before you came over. Wow, he's done a really good job at niching down. Like, this is advice that we've been given so many times, and it's a harder thing to do. I mean, you being a drummer, that's a natural fit.
Yeah.
We're creatives, which is kind of every human on earth, arguably. So it's navigating your way. But for the benefit of those listening that may not know what you're up to with this project, maybe give a quick elevator pitch or just explanation of what Drummer to Drummer actually is.
Yeah, so I'll start it with kind of like a preface story. It was 2004. I used to put on shows in Brampton, Ontario, in the back room of the church my family went to. And this was Most Serene Republic, who I was the drummer for. We had just kind of established ourselves as the Most Serene Republic from our old name, the Onironauts. which is way hard to even pronounce talking to you now. But so one of the first shows is Most Serene Republic, and my good friends in Monine, they headlined the show. Peter Kirpan, the drummer of the band, we are so aligned when it comes to drum styles. And I remember saying to him, we should just double drum one time. I think that would just be so much fun. And they set up 2 drum kits for that night at that show because Mikey Taylor from the band The Junction at the time, he was going to play their big hit song, The Passing of America, with them. And the drums were there and they weren't playing Passing of America. And I just said to Peter, I was like, can I just drum? I'd listened to the band for, I don't know, a long time, decades. And I knew every song. There was no practicing. And we just played the entire set together. And except for the song
you
Mikey
knew the
played.
songs that well.
Yeah.
Like there's knowing songs and there's knowing songs.
Well, and a follow-up story to that, I get a call from years and years later. Sorry, I tend to trail off, but I get a call from their manager at the time, and she says, "Adam, what are you doing?" I'm living in Halifax at the time, and she calls me and says, "What are you doing?" I was like, "I don't know, walking my dog." It's like a Wednesday, and she says, "Well, what are you doing Friday?" Well, I don't know. It's like, "Do you want to go to Edmonton?" And I thought, well, that sounds like fun. What do you want to do in Edmonton? She's like, well, do you want to drum with Monine? And basically, Kenny, the singer, was guitar teching for Alexis on Fire. And an after party show was happening after the Alexis show at this guy's house, who's a CEO of a cannabis company. Beautiful home right on the valley there. And I said, yeah, sure. And then I didn't have any time to practice the songs, but I flew in. Flight got delayed a little bit, landed at 10 p.m. Hippie, the guitarist, met me outside, went and watched Alexis finish their set, got a couple beers, hop in a cab, go to this guy's house, play 9 songs, and actually did, like, I thought they went really well. The band was happy, and that's always a good sign. Mm-hmm. And then we hang out till 6 a.m. We watch the sunrise in this guy's house. We go back to the hotel, sleep till 10. I'm on a flight at 1. And it was just the weirdest.
Oh my God, this is such a band story.
And I remember, like, I'm a dad at that time, and I remember getting in bed with Kenny at 10 a.m. I was like, I can't do this anymore. That my body was so hurting by the end.
Sunrise.
As you're telling this, I'm like, I wonder how old he was.
It was not that long ago. I think it was 2018, 2019.
Oh, yeah.
Dear God, man.
I'm 43 now, so like my body is not willing to do that kind of stuff anymore. I probably just crashed when I got home, but it was just hilarious. It was such a good opportunity. Anyway, going back to the original story, Peter and I are drumming, and we do that entire set together to give you an idea of how much I knew the songs. We're like getting flashy with it now. We know what we're doing. Like, I'm throwing sticks to him. He's throwing sticks to me. We're getting flashy. And then I get to play this like big breakup song with like a big Monine breakup song that was like the emo kid in me was like, I can't believe I'm playing this song. We play the whole set and everything's great. And I just remember that was the day. And I thought, I have to double drum all the time. And then after that, Most Serene Republic got to tour with Broken Social Scene. And then we were in, and then I talked to Justin Paroff because he's a part of this season coming up. So we got to reminisce about stories. And I was like, yeah, well, I used to double drum with you on that. And he's like, that wasn't really that fun. He said that was the only tour that we did the double drumming stuff. It was really hard to kind of collaborate with another drummer because they had a...
Sorry, I just need to, so that people get this. Double drumming is 2 drummers performing at the exact same time, playing the exact same beats to the same song.
And it's not really...
Is that true?
Sort of.
Okay.
Because I'm incapable of playing the exact same beat as another drummer.
Okay.
Which we'll get into how stressful that can be when you're playing another drummer's songs.
Carry on. I just wanted to make sure that I was like, this is what double drumming is, if we're referencing that.
So Peter and I, when we did that Monine Most Serene show, we're playing kind of side by side, both looking out. Mm-hmm. When Justin was doing it with Broken, it was 2 drummers looking out. And it's really, if you have any type of competing drum beats that aren't the same, it can really throw you off. Mm-hmm. I remember playing a show in Calgary and Kevin Drew comes on and jumps on the other drum set. And we're playing like a 5/4, really interesting kind of drum beat. And I kind of should have warned him that it was 5/4 beat because he went to come in and join me because it sounded like a rock beat, but the timing was a little bit off. And then I remember him just trying to play it, and he's like, And he just walked off, and I was like, okay, we should plan this next time. So yeah, I mean, the infatuation with double drumming started around 2004, and then I double drummed with Justin as much as I could on that Broken tour. And then one of the last tours I did with Most Serene, we got the Strokes tour in Canada. And then I remember the Strokes had this band room where they can do all their warming up and stuff like that. And Fabrizio had 2 drum kits in there. And I remember like Fabrizio, like
he's a drummer of the Strokes.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Fabrizio, the drummer for the Strokes. And he and I got along really well because Most Serene and the Strokes were playing a lot of sports together, playing soccer games before shows and stuff. And Fabrizio and I were always on the same team, and we were just having the greatest time, just like best friends. And I walked into the band room one day, and he was like, "Well, I'm working on some new songs, and like, do you want to work on some stuff with me and like, kind of keep a beat while I work on some stuff?" I just was floored. I can't believe I'm drumming with the guy who drummed last night. Yes, I do. I would like that. So it's just kind of like became a part of kind of my love of music and the collaboration of not just other musicians, but other people who are playing the same instrument as you. You know, it took some years, and life happened, and then I ended up in Nova Scotia. And I remember I was working kind of a day job that just hated everything, and I needed passion back in my life. And I was sitting in the parking lot of the Tim Hortons in Burnside, right off that exit there by the park.
Beautiful place.
Exactly. Highfield Park. There we go. Highfield Park. So I'm sitting in there, and I was just so drained. I had nothing in me, no emotional excitement whatsoever. And I always had this idea in the back of my head, and I never maybe just believed in it enough. And then I texted our good friend, Tara Thorne, and I said, "Here's my idea." Just threw it at the wall, see what sticks. And her response was, "I think you have lightning in a bottle here. Let's do it." And then Tara became my partner early on and was just everything to me to kind of have another person who believed in it the way I did.
Yeah.
And the first 2 seasons, we got some of the coolest drummers, and we filmed majority of them, actually probably most of them, were in Nova Scotia. And it's funny, I think about life as a corporate working guy that I am, but also as like the creative guy that I am. And I remember a friend of mine who lives in the corporate world back home, and he was telling me, like when you get that big deal and you're sitting in your car and you just let out a gigantic woo, like that's your adrenaline. I've never had that moment in my life in a corporate world ever. And then I remember when Tara texted me back and told me that Steve Lamos from American Football was going to be playing in Halifax, and they said yes to Drummer. That's the only woo I've ever done in like I got it. And I thought that was a sign that, we may have something here, and it's time to try and make it work. So I hope that answered your question.
That's a sign. Yes. And it's a great story.
Yeah. It's kind of, it's been a whirlwind, but it's really neat. The internet has made doing this a heck of a lot easier than if I didn't have the internet, because I can just, Steve Lamos from American Football was a big believer in the show early on. And then during COVID, he agreed to do a quarantine session with me. And the quarantine session is you film on Zoom and you got the split screens. And I basically was talking to him, and he said, "Anytime you need me, let me know." And he's a part of a cult following band, right? He's that kind of, I always call them the anchor interview, the one you want to build the trip around, or build the season around. And to have someone like him kind of on my side is just so, it means that we're doing something that I think is cool and people believe in, and it's interesting to watch. When we talk about, know your niche, it is that one musical instrument where moving all your limbs and being a little crazy is at least entertaining to watch to someone who doesn't know how to play an instrument.
Totally. Right? And it's all the more exciting watching 2 of you do it at once. Yeah. They're really, really exciting videos. And so you're talking with the artist, you're talking with the drummer of a band, and then you have in advance learned or agreed upon a song of that band's, and you have learned it.
Yeah.
And then you're playing it simultaneously.
Yeah, but I made it more difficult for some drummers.
For you or for them?
For me, for sure. Well, and sometimes for them too. So we'll get local for a second, but Loel Campbell from Wintersleep.
We just watched that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So
Paul's the probably top 3 drummers I've ever seen anywhere in the planet.
and I agree.
Not
with you.
just in Nova Scotia. Like
Yeah.
I think him, Brian Devendorf from the National. He's
Yeah.
another favorite of mine.
And another one on Mount Rushmore for me is Doug McGregor from the Constantines.
Oh yeah.
Who, I want it. I want it.
I saw
so
you
bad.
did. You
Putting
did
it out there in the universe.
You did the rural Alberta
Alberta.
Advantage drummer. He's really good.
Paul
Love
was the interview after. Now, Paul was the very first episode we ever aired,
Yeah.
but he was the 3rd episode we ever did. So the first episode we ever did was Graham, my good friend Graham from Yukon Blonde, after they played Canada Day, and then we got and then we got American football. So American football and rural Alberta Advantage were playing the same show, and I did Paul first. And I remember that was, so when Graham and I did our episode, it was very in its infancy, and we just jammed, right? Like I did the same thing with Phil. No, I didn't do the same thing with Phil from Hey Rosetta. We actually played a song together. So it was the Graham episode where I was like, let's just jam. Let's just drum and make something cool happen. It was a cool episode. But then I was just sitting at home at night, because this is what my brain does. I have to put it on paper or have to put it into the world, or else I can't function.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how my brain works. And I was like, probably woke up out of a deep sleep, and I thought, I need to drum their songs with them, because getting them comfortable for an interview, you need to get them comfortable with the setting.
Yeah.
And the best way to do that is maybe don't make them think of a drum beat. Maybe ask them to play a drum beat they've played 6,000 times.
Yeah.
That they wrote. Yeah.
Exactly. So it takes away that learning curve. And I remember Paul came in, and I can't even remember the title of that song, but that is still to this day my wife's favorite episode, because the drumming is just mayhem the entire time.
Yeah.
And we're playing at Spats, and the whole band, like the band, are in the. You can't see them, but I think you can in a small scene there. They're sitting watching the episode, so
no
I'm
way.
extra nervous because I'm
It's like an
I'm-
audition.
Yes. Like one day I plan. So when I was a kid, this is when ADHD kicks in and I start changing the subject. So when I was growing up, my mom got me a basketball net for the driveway when I graduated grade 8 or grade 9. I can't remember. And I played. I was a ball.
Was it paved? Do you have a paved driveway?
It was paved, but it was slanted, so that I could never truly be a good basketball player because I wasn't flat.
I was on a not flat dirt court.
A lot of shooting, not much dribbling.
I think if any basketball player in the world challenged me on that court, I think I could beat them though. Like I think I could have beat like Michael Jordan on that court.
Home
You
court
had
advantage.
that much practice on
I know
it.
where every bump is, every hole. Like he'd sprain his ankle within the first 2 minutes. So
The key line from one of my favorite TV shows, Man Tracker, was "Know your land, know your prey." That's you on that driveway.
Yeah.
exactly.
Know
And
your
you
land.
on yours. Your little tilt.
I know how to do the tilt. Anyway, I used to always have this dream that every car that passed me was Butch Carter, who was the head coach of the Toronto Raptors at the time, and I would make a shot, and you'd see the brake lights happen, and then them come over, and be like, "We got
That
something
guy's
here."
good.
On a tilted driveway. So I always
Grade
had-
8? We should sign him.
Jesus.
Jeez, I know you got your whole life ahead of you.
Incline. Yeah.
So where I'm going with that is, where was I going with that? There was a comparison. Whenever I drummed in front of other people, like I always have this dream of them being like, we're actually considering having a 2-drummer tour coming up, and I'll say yes.
Yeah.
And I even pitched it to a couple drummers, and it didn't go anywhere. But you know what? There might be that one day where if they see me, they would say, I got an idea.
Are there any bands that have that built in just as a regular component of their composition?
For sure. One of my favorite bands, which I could never play with because they would play me under the table, and I've interviewed him. He's from my hometown, Larnell Lewis from Snarky Puppy. They've won a Grammy, and it's this big band, just absolutely, like, just do yourself a favor and find them on YouTube, and they are beyond phenomenal. And they have like 3 drummers, but we opened for I remember I went to a bar one night, and when I was with Most Serene, and I remember I was like I'm one of the biggest Modest Mouse fans that I know. And I go to the Beacons Field, which is the big hangout where we would hang out with all the arts and crafts crew. And I go and sit down at a table with Kevin, Drew, and he says, I think I'm going to make your dream come true. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like,
say more.
Yeah, say more. I need it. And he said, in June, you're playing Toronto Island. And I thought, oh, well, okay, this is cool because Toronto Island Broken Social Scene always did like a show there. Modest Mouse was playing it. So I'm going to play on the same stage as Modest Mouse. And they have 2 drummers, to answer your question. And I remember Most Serene played that show and, pat myself on the back. We had just come from New York City the night before. We opened for Feist and drove all the way through the night to go make load-in time, which is something stupid like 10 a.m. at Toronto Island. And we didn't play till 4 or 5 o'clock. So enough time to go home to Milton and have a nap to be able to come back to play the show. We play the show and it was a really hot day. And I just remember getting off the stage and my hands hurt so bad. So I just dumped them into a bucket of ice. Like there were a bunch of waters or something like that in there. And this guy pats me on the back and he said, oh, that was a really great show. And I was like, oh, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it. Are you playing today? He's like, oh yeah, I'm in Modest Mouse. And I stopped.
And you fainted.
I went on for the next 10 minutes at least, just unleashing compliments on this guy and like telling him how he changed my life and stuff. And it's Jeremiah Green. He's now since passed. He passed a couple of years ago, I think. But he was the kindest man. And then that night, he in that conversation, he invited me to go stay at his house in Seattle when we were going through there. Just the kind, talking about how nice drummers are. Guy just invited a complete stranger to his house in Seattle. So it was such a lovely guy. And then we're sitting side stage and Kevin comes up to me during the Modest Mouse set and he puts his arm around me. He's like, I'm going to do it again. And I was like, what? He's like, come with me. And then I went up and I stood behind Jeremiah and I played the bells on Good News for People Who Love Bad News. And it was like one of those, there's one blurry photo from my friend Shannon who took it, who I didn't even know was at the show. And that's enough for me. And then if you go to my Instagram page, the picture of my personal Instagram is me standing behind Feist because I went on stage that day and played 7/4 with Broken Social Scene and was playing the tambourine. Didn't realize that Justin had asked me to come onto stage. I had been playing on shows with them and always doing a tambourine or something like that. And he was actually asking me to come out and fix his hi-hat stand. His hi-hat stand broke. But I thought he was just like, come out and party. So the whole 7/4, his hi-hat was broken. And I remember doing this and I was looking at him and getting all into it. And he just would do this and like look at the hi-hat. And it's like, I know. It's so much fun. So I'm like, oh, it wasn't 7/4, it was Almost Crimes. And a picture of me on Instagram is me screaming behind Leslie the Crimes when they all yell it. It's like, that's pretty nice.
What a special memory.
Right?
Like, I feel exhilarated just hearing you tell this story.
I only did these things for a short period of my life, but I got so much out of it that I have some pretty cool stories to tell my grandkids. And that's kind of where I'm at now.
And led you to want to showcase some of the untold stories from your unsung heroes, really, is part of the beauty and what the evolution ended up being. Yeah,
it's true. There's like a whole world out there of stories that I'm sure I've bored my wife with, but someone else doesn't know them. And I find them really entertaining. You know, it's really, it was a whirlwind. Playing 200 shows a year and going all over the world and doing all these cool things at a time where the internet wasn't a thing really. So all of those YouTube videos that all the bands now have are like right here with me. And we don't really have those anymore. It was 2000.
Just in old stories with your buddies.
Right. And then unless there's video proof of it, who knows? You know, that's kind of one of the big reasons I stopped shooting Drummer to Drummer after the quarantine sessions because of the pandemic. And I had a whole season planned in Ontario that for April 2020. So good luck that happening. That was a month after the world shut down. And, you know, I'm the kind of guy, I'm an obsessive compulsive personality that, you know, I got to do something every day for it to become a habit. And then you kind of get caught up with real life stuff. And I didn't shoot anything for a while. And then I just got an email from my friend one day, Nathan, who helped direct a couple seasons there and edit. And he's just salt of the earth human being. And he emailed me and told me about this guy. And then I got a contact from this guy, John Lucas. and said, "Hey, I'd love to talk." And he's a film guy back home, corporate film guy, and he's just such a brilliant eye when it comes to film and video and editing and post production. And he said, "I really like this idea. I want this to be a passion project." And then partnered up with him, and it took that phone call with him and then a coffee with him when I was in Toronto, and then all this stuff to be thinking, it's time. It's legacy for me now. I've done this. You know, you could Google Adam Nimmo and an old picture of me comes up of me drumming in, who knows where. But this is about legacy now for my daughter. You know, I want her to have proof that I did a thing, right? My dad, who was a drummer, he passed when I was 13, and he was the reason I started playing the drums. And he doesn't have any of that proof that he did this stuff. And, you know, now my stories to my daughter about her grandfather are just stories. And I want to be able to have, you know, evidence, things that she can show her kids that, you know, I was at once a cool person or could drum or, you know, can hear my voice. You know, those are things that are pretty important to me now. The mission has changed from where I was when I was 23 trying to get a record deal and tour the world and be on the cover of Modern Drummer, right? Just
is
priorities
the primary
change.
archive for those episodes YouTube? Is that the platform of which you're creating this content for?
Yeah, so with Instagram you can only do shortened videos, so we kind of push everything to YouTube.
Okay.
We did the first couple seasons where Facebook would be the full video upload, but then we're finding I find that Facebook is kind of changing, which I'm sure the whole universe thinks that, but their mission has changed a little bit too. So we're kind of thinking, let's just post our material there, like our promotional stuff there, and then let's send everyone to YouTube, because that's going to be probably where the most things live forever.
Long term. That's where your daughter's going to go.
That's where she'll go.
Yeah.
I'm assuming. Until Instagram becomes like Flukestagram
Something
and
else.
Facebook becomes whatever else, right? Like, who knows? Can't keep up.
You mentioned earlier that drummers are some of the most interesting people, but maybe don't have a voice that puts them at the forefront. Is this kind of the point of it, to give them that voice? And also, I saw in a couple videos, I don't know if you're doing them all because I didn't watch them all, but you talk to drummers and you're like, so when the media is happening around an album or a tour or something, how involved in that are you?
It's my first question every time.
It is every time?
Yeah.
Okay, so we watched like 3 or 4 and you said it in all those, and I just didn't know if it was a coincidence or...
That's
so
my
that
foundational
is always
question.
The question. Okay.
Because it always starts off the interview because it's the reason I do this.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because depending on who you're talking to, they actually do a lot of press.
Yeah.
But it's funny, I just interviewed Theo McKibben, who's the drummer for the Trues and a bunch of other bands. Lovely guy. And that was the first interview he had ever done by himself. And I just thought that was so cool. You know, you play drums for 30 years and really the whole idea here is to do this show and get to a level where I've always wanted to give a voice to the people that people don't know. It's incredible to meet my heroes and drum with my heroes, and that's just the coolest thing. But I also, the name of the game for me was, I want some kid in Stellarton, Nova Scotia, or some kid in Vienna, Austria, to know that they could get something in front of them that could make them go to the next level.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that that'll ever get there, but I've always wanted to give a voice to the people that I used to be, or I probably still am. Like I think it's just such a cool opportunity, and what a way to do it too. You really like to hone in on what their craft is. You know, it's great to listen to a song, but if they're playing a straight up 4/4 beat the whole time and you don't really get to see them flash, and then you go sit on a kit with them and then you're like, let's just wail. And then you get to see their stuff, right? Like I think of Patty McGee, who's the drummer for Stars, when we talk about Sweetest People on the Planet. And I remember we were touring with them a couple times, and he's a classically, like a jazz trained drummer. You know, when he plays Stars songs, he does some really cool stuff on Stars songs. Don't get me wrong. But then I would listen to him do like little sound checks, and then he would just wail on the kit outside of any other instruments playing. And I remember one day I was just like, holy shit, I had no idea you could do that. He just went off. I thought I would have never had an idea that you could do that. I just, I love the idea of letting people, just breathe and on the drums and just get a voice. That was the goal for me.
And I think the very best drummers, in my opinion, they always play to the song. They know what it needs. And sometimes you're the flashiest person. You are at the forefront. You're driving along. And sometimes you're just playing a quiet beat in the background and you might be the best drummer alive. But the song doesn't require that in the moment.
Yeah. The discipline in drumming is so important. And it's something that I didn't fully grasp until later in my life, like when I was in punk rock bands, and even when I was playing Most Serene Republic, like I didn't sit back and play that role all the time. And I remember after I left Most Serene Republic and the next band I joined, it was let's just let loose. I always felt like maybe I was being tempered down, and when I look back at it, I was allowed to do anything I wanted to. But I was some punk kid who just was trying to be, I don't know, trying to be crazy. And then when I would go and I would do everything that I wanted to do, and it was just mayhem. Now that I'm starting to play more and more, and then I'm starting to talk to a lot of professional drummers, which I am very much not. It's very interesting to see how I approach drums now. It's very disciplined, knowing that I can do a fill here and there, but also remembering that I'm not 23-year-old Adam anymore. I can't do the things I used to do. So play to your skill level, play to what the song needs. And even when it's time for flash, being very disciplined in the flash, because you're going to get your opportunity, but you're not getting bonus points for being able to do something absolutely ridiculous when you could just play something that's a little bit more tasteful. So it's definitely been a big change for me.
I heard a story, I think it was Tom Petty, and I can't even remember. I heard it so long ago, I can't remember who was even involved, but a drummer was trying out, and using air quotes there, was potentially going to play with him, and they were jamming, and at one point the drummer did a fill, and Tom stopped the song. He's like, "What did you do right there?" And he's like, and he played the fill again. He's like no fills in this song. It's like, so it might even have been Dave Grohl. Did he ever try?
Oh yeah,
out? I think it was Dave.
That's
Grohl.
Right. He got tried out for them.
Yeah,
that's right.
And I think it was like Tom Petty's the focal point of the song is the voice, the core, like that is what the song is, and Tom Petty didn't want that. It was like none of
like
that
overshadowing it.
Yeah, it just he didn't want that in the song. That's just his vision for it was straightforward as possible. And someone like Dave Grohl, if this is the right person I'm referencing, is not probably the right fit for that, because he probably wants to unleash a little bit.
And I'm super self-conscious about anything I do on this planet. So if I was sitting there, got this opportunity, and then Tom Petty told me, like, what are you doing? Basically, you lost the gig in that one moment. I would stew over that for the rest of my life. Yeah. And that's all I did. I just want to try and do a little fill for you. Yeah. Ruin my life. That's hilarious.
It's a little surprising because you seem like a bit of a risk taker, I will say.
I'm getting less risky as a whole in my life. Maybe it was having my daughter, but I just became sort of a wuss as I've gotten older. And like, this is what I like about Drummer to Drummer is, I got this weird fear of flying and this weird fear of heights out of nowhere. I can't even remember when it was, but I used to tour and fly and do stupid things. And now it's like, I don't want to do that. And, as much as I miss playing a show every night, it's a great adrenaline rush, and I don't miss being in a hotel or someone's basement or the van. I don't miss that stuff, sleeping upside down in a van in Sault Ste. Marie.
We talk about that often too. We're of an age that I want to at least have my own room. Yeah. And that, I've toured a lot with Mike. And
you don't need to play London, Ontario on a Tuesday night and make $15 and get a $47 parking ticket,
I feel like there's an actual story there. That was very exact.
But it also speaks a little bit to this idea of our show is called Make It. We like to inquire with our guest of what their idea of making it is. And 23-year-old Adam that you've referenced a couple of times perhaps was in pursuit of a different dream than you are now. So I'm curious, how does it feel maybe to even have your goals and your values shift? Because when you put a lot of energy into something at a young age, and we've gone through this ourselves, at some point you're like, wait a minute, all of that time and effort put into this goal isn't even my goal anymore. And I'd love for you to talk about maybe that transition for you and emotionally how that felt and what this idea of making it could look to Adam at 43.
That's a great question. You're right. 23-year-old Adam dreamt of touring the world, being
the biggest band of all time.
And not only playing big venues, but headlining big venues.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the people who are there dancing to the songs are there for you.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I always, you know, my dad didn't get to live the dream of being the drummer. He was asked to be Holly Cole's drummer when he was young, and because he had a family, couldn't do it. And I just thought, like, I want to do this for him too. I want to be able to say we did it, and, you know, rule the world of drumming and stuff like that. And
you wanted someone in the crowd to be able to catch one of your sticks, and that was the biggest moment of their life.
And then they could just die. They'd be like, I don't want to do anything
Maybe
else.
that has happened.
Anyway, I hope not.
I mean, just pointing that out. Not the death part, but the glory
part.
part.
An old bandmate of mine when I was in high school, his sister went to a Vanilla Ice concert, caught the Vanilla Ice's drummer's drumstick, and he gave that to me, and I had that for like since high school up until about, I think it was 2016. We did a pledge music campaign around our album, doing the album fundraising, and that was one of the things people could purchase.
No.
And so I sold the Vanilla Ice drumstick. He bought it back, though.
Nobody got it.
I wish that any of that story was Vanilla Ice bought it back.
So
he just really needed it. He needed it.
Yeah.
But that was the very first cassette I ever had, was Vanilla Ice, to the extreme.
Yeah.
That was great. I always
Probably
wanted
true
to
for all
shave
of
the thing
us,
in my
but
head.
yeah.
It's a different time.
Mm-hmm.
But 23-year-old Adam had that dream, and it took a really long time for me after I left Most Serene, my decision to leave the band. But like, I can only compare it to a bad breakup. Not that we hated each other or anything like that, but I just watching them go off and date other people / play other shows was really hard for me, really selfishly. Like, I made the decision for me to want to like listen to music actively the way I used to listen to it and get inspired by everything. It took a little bit of time, and I'll admit that. Yeah. And it took me stepping away for a little bit. But now my dream is very different, but still the same. I want to be known as being a drummer. I want to be able to have pieces of media that are going to live forever of me doing these cool things. I want to be able to do it where I only have to fly somewhere twice a year, go shoot a bunch of episodes, and then there's a season. Go to the next city, and then go shoot get a whole season done. I have this whole dream of Drummer to Drummer does Osheaga, does Ottawa Jazz Fest, does Lollapalooza, does Leeds Reading, whatever. Being able to tour the world, but not be stuck in a van 6 months at a time, and be able to come home to my family. It's on my terms now. It's me and John, but I don't have to worry about a change of heart from the bass player. I don't want to do that anymore. And then everything crumbles. Or I don't want to do this anymore, and then everything crumbles. And then now it's just, okay, what's my idea now? Who's going to want to be a part of it? And then just go do it. That's kind of where I'm at. I want to start leaving a little bit of a legacy, and my daughter thinks it's cool, so I want to keep doing it as long as she thinks it's cool.
That's making it right there.
100%.
Yeah.
She tells her friends at school about this show, and nobody believes her, according to her. But it's still really neat that
it's easy to find the evidence there.
Exactly right. But the fact that a 10-year-old can think that way, I think I got something here. I'm still a few years away before she hates me, so I'm just trying to build on this. And I, like I said to anybody I'll talk to who's working on the show with us now, is if this doesn't feel like a vacation, I don't want to do it. We all have jobs. We all have things that are taking our mind away for the majority of the year. When we get together, it's got to be a celebration. It's got to be just creative output and minds coming together, and we're getting floored working together.
Mm-hmm.
And, after shooting 11 episodes in 2 days for this new season, I'm driving back home to my sister's house in Ontario, who I was staying with, and I was so exhausted, but I just felt so fulfilled. It was, now the hard part's over. It's like when being a drummer in a band, you're the first thing that records on a record, and then you're done 3 weeks before the record is done.
Right.
I'm on vacation now.
Mm-hmm.
And then, it was like all that hard work, all the hundreds of hours you put into leading up to it. It's just a gigantic exhale. And it's like, okay, let's just see how it looks now.
Mm.
And bless John's heart, he's made these new episodes just look so good. And it's given like a whole new being to the show that it never was before. And it's not against anybody not being able to do it. It's just, it took another set of eyes, and it took a team kind of concentrating on it a little bit more than maybe we ever did. As we get older, and I don't know, just everything changes a little bit, and kind of the mindset's changed on how this is going to work, and who knows what it'll be. A bit of the dream is, if anybody knows Drumeo, like what if it becomes a little subsidiary of Drumeo, and or maybe it becomes a documentary, or maybe it becomes like, I don't know. I've said to John, who we've talked about the documentary idea, is the stress that I go through preparing an episode is something you'll never see on camera. But like, I'm an anxious person at the best of times.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm thinking about playing this drummer's songs with the pressure of, not play, because I'm incapable of doing it, of playing the exact same thing that drummer's doing. Are you running the risk of insulting them? Are you going to keep screwing up? And you're on time here. You got people who need to go somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of pressure. And I have some sleepless nights and some extra sessions where I'm just like sitting in a corner and just air drumming for hours, just trying to figure something out to make sure that it's going to look cool. The process of building the episode, I think, is at least interesting to someone. If I were to watch it and someone else go through what I go through, I'd feel bad for them. And I feel like it would be at least a little bit entertaining of, just how much pressure I kind of put on myself for this stuff. Interviewing is one thing, and thinking about questions that nobody's been asked before and making sure I'm a good interviewer. I don't want to be a Wikipedia interviewer,
Mm-hmm.
but then at the same time, I have to play their songs with them and make it interesting. And it's like the medley I did with Loel Campbell. I did that for Jason Tate from the Weaker Thans, and we did 7 songs together. And then I did 5 songs with Tim Oxford from Markel's just this season. And it's like trying to make them make work, and the hard, and I think we were talking about it earlier. When has it kind of been a little too much for the drummer too? Weaker Thans are one of my favorite bands, and Tate and I are playing 7 Weaker Thans songs that all have different beats per minute, but we're playing them at kind of like a middle level beats per minute.
Mm-hmm.
But that means that one of those slower songs is hyper fast for him. And I remember there's a shot in him drumming those songs with me, and the hi-hat hand is going so fast, and he just has this big smile on his face, and it's out of pain and fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, why are we doing this? and holy crap, it's working kind of thing. And I guess the same thing happened with the Broken Social Scene drumming, where it took a little bit of convincing to get Justin to buy into the idea. And then you start doing the idea, and it's like, oh my God, it's working.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's, anyway, I tailed off about
what I find really inspiring about this part, and thinking of the behind the scenes in your preparation, is that you are having that emotional experience and you want to do it anyways.
Yeah.
I think that's a really key thing for people to think about, is because that can be kind of the end point for many, especially when it comes to creative or meeting their heroes, is I'm afraid, I'm anxious, I want this to be perfect. What if I fuck up? All of this is running through your head, but you're showing up and you're doing it regardless of that. And that's kind of what life and pushing ourselves is all about.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And I never really thought about it like that, because I'm just kind of wired that way in most things that I do.
Mm-hmm.
It's not worth it to me if it's easy.
Yeah.
And it's definitely worth it to me if it's pretty hard to do, because the payoff at the end is just so magical.
Mm-hmm.
To kind of think, I could have just had this idea and just never did anything with it. And I never would have met you guys, and I probably just would have been doing that same job I was doing.
Mhm.
But my brain is not wired to do that. I was talking to my wife kind of preparing for this, and it was like, you know, what, like, you brought up a really good question in the conversation we had going on. It's like, if nobody ever heard me and my art ever again, would I continue to do it? It's not even yes, it's I have to. Like, I can't, I think I need to do this in order to, whatever page I'm turning to close this storybook on whatever chapter this is in my life, I need to do it, and I need to say I did it. And that's what I said to John when we were doing the show again. It was like, I need to know how far I can take this before I say it's done.
Mhm.
And what I did before when the pandemic happened was like, it was a good run. I'm never going to say it's canceled. I'm just going to say, if anyone asks me, yeah, we haven't shot one in a while. And it's like 5 years. Of course, like, people are going to think that it's done. I need to know. And if where it's at right now is where it ends up, I'm cool. I mean, I have these things that'll live on forever, or until the internet dies. That's good for me.
Mhm. This is a challenge. I bring this up, Mike, looking to you, because this is something I think you might relate to more than I do. As an entertainer, there's no ceiling, and that's kind of bittersweet.
Yeah.
So to hear you say, if this is where it ends, like, I'm cool with that, but there's also sort of this voice in the back of your head that's like, I wonder what could be next, or what if, and maybe that never ends. And I know that's something that can be really hard. You've talked about that.
Yeah, it's hard and amazing at the same
and
time.
motivating.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, if I want the utmost success in music, I could work 24 hours every single day for the rest of my life. There's always something you could be doing. Like, at a 9 to 5 job, you clock out at 5 o'clock, and then you go do whatever else you want to do. As a musician or a creative person, like, there's always, I can be getting better at grant writing. I got to practice scales on the guitar. I got to practice scales with my vocals. I have to book these shows. I have to learn to be better in interviews. Like, there's just endless stuff you can actually be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And that is for someone who wants to achieve greatness, or just wants to make their mark in the world. You can do it if you're willing to put in that time and energy. And there's no exact template, which can be daunting to some people, but that can also be really inspiring to some people, because you can do it your own way.
Yeah.
And I think that sounds like someone like you. I feel like I'm kind of on that page. Like, I get to create this life in this path that I'm on, exactly how I want to now. And maybe in the past, like, I was more just following what you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
But it takes a little bit of time to really learn who you are and what you actually want and what you value. Like, I've talked about values on here before, but I think they're just so important, because they can take you in the exact direction you're supposed to go in when you actually recognize what it is you care about. Do you care about creating a legacy? Do you care about just having something that you can look at online and doesn't have to be perfect, as long as it exists and it's a memory? Like, everyone has a different reason why they're doing what they do, but when you know what your values are, it's so much easier to get towards that goal or that end result.
That's so interesting. And you and I are kind of the same person when it comes to that
We're
stuff.
both 43 too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
82. What month?
December.
I'm older than you.
Yeah.
June 22nd. December.
She's 43 too.
What's your month?
June
June what?
9th.
I was close.
Yeah.
I was really close. We're going to high five there in a second.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well,
Kindred spirits.
Kindred spirits. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Cancer.
But you can relate to this
Huge
sense of values, I guess, informing.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, I've always been a sky's the limit guy. I'm a big believer in what's the worst. My dad used to always say, what's the worst thing they're going to ever say? No. So who cares?
Yeah.
At least you tried. And when Most Serene Republic was starting off, and I left my old band to go join them, and I thought, well, I think we have something here. And we had a pure volume site for anybody who's 43 years old, but know what that is. And I was just the kind of guy that at 3 a.m. one night, I was like, well, who are our favorite record labels? And it was Polyvinyl in Illinois, and it was Arts and Crafts.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, sure. I go to the Arts and Crafts website. Why not? And then I see reach out at artscrafts.ca. I was like, why not? It's just an info email. Mm-hmm. It's probably, for me at the time, Arts and Crafts has been run by like 500 people, and it's just some admin person who's doing it. No, it's like a tight little family of people, I realized. But at the time, I didn't know. And I emailed them and I said, hey, we're the Most Feared in Your Public. Here's our pure volume site. It wasn't even the full album. Mm-hmm. It was like we had signed to an independent label called Sunday League Records, my buddy Serge Sargento back in Brampton, where I'm from. And I was like, let's just try. And then I'm working at Long & McQuaid in Brampton, Ontario, and I'm in the rentals department, and I was checking my email because that's what you do. Don't tell my boss that I did that. And I get an email in my Hotmail, which I don't have anymore. And
I still have my Hotmail account.
Good for you. Yeah. They don't get enough support. Yeah. I'm a Gmail
my
guy.
Inbox is almost full. And it's all just from not deleting. There's nothing in there, but it's like
40,
you have. I think it's over 40,000 messages. Just
you should get
there.
to reading those. Yeah. There's some important sales.
Take a day.
Yeah,
take a day.
Take it a year maybe.
You're like, I missed out on that Costco deal.
Yeah, Zeller's deal.
1994.
1997. I really could have done that. So I check my email, and I have an email from Kevin Drew, and I have an email from Jeffrey Remedios, they both ran Arts and Crafts. So Kevin's the artist, and Jeffrey was the business guy.
How established was Arts and Crafts at this point?
Stars had released Set Yourself on Fire. Broken Social Scene was like really touring You Forgot It in People. Yeah. They were very established. Mm-hmm. Like they were our favorite record label for a reason.
Yeah.
And I can't remember which email I read first, but you can imagine what my face looked like in the rentals department. And I read read Jeffrey's email first, and he said, "Hi Adam, we listen to the songs and we love it. We'd love to meet." I was like, what?
Awesome.
And I can't remember what the time was from when I did that reach out email, and it could have been an hour, it could have been 6 months. I couldn't remember. And then I was like, what the flying fuck is happening right now? And then I read Kevin's, and Kevin says, Adam, Loel Campbell, who's the singer for Stars, he and I listened to your songs in Montreal, and we can't stop listening to them or something like that. And he's like, we need to work together. And I immediately probably went to the bathroom and pretended to go to the bathroom and called my band, and I was like, we have to talk. And then that was the beginning of the end. And just kind of like, I will never, I just finished reading about, I'm not a big book reader, but I just finished a book called The Let Them Theory, which is like changed my life. And one of the
Mel Robbins.
Yes, have you read it?
I listened to her podcast. I haven't read
Oh
the
my
book
God.
yet.
That book, because I've been having a hard time with like that kind of world and, you know, letting things get to me, probably more than they should. And this book has changed my life. And one of her chapters was, you know, I'm obviously paraphrasing, but it was like, just like everybody on this planet is just an 8-year-old, right? Like everybody is going through their own things, and, you know, don't be overconsumed by that stuff. And kind of where my weird parallel to that is, I will always remember what that felt like in the rental department. To the point earlier was, you have no idea. If you keep doing this, you have no idea the next Jeffrey Remedios or the Kevin Drew that you'll just email you out of nowhere being like, I love what you're doing, and I think we should work together. You know, I hold on to that hope. Not that it has to happen, but it kind of gives me fuel to kind of keep going, because you just have absolutely no idea what you're put on this planet to do. And wouldn't it be a shame if you quit doing what you thought you were good at for risk that would never happen, or I'm too tired, or, you know, X, Y, or Z excuse. I have to do it because it's just kind of a part of me. I feel like you do this, you kind of think the same way, and just kind of like, this is our life.
Yeah, well, I've I guess only done music for like 20 years now, and I had a few random jobs here and there, but like there's been a million times where I think 99.9% of the population would be, okay, now's the time to now's the time to do something real.
But good
this
for
is
you
the time to switch
you.
things over. And I always just felt this irrepressible urge just to keep going, to keep doing what I was doing. And
well, isn't it fun having something in your life where you're giving at least 100% to?
Yeah.
I love that. If I don't have that in my life, like, what am I doing? If I don't have an aspect of my life, it's me playing slow pitch with my wife. That is where I'm like truly happy.
Yeah.
And sitting behind a kit and playing drums, or like playing the drums in the basement, just practicing or something like that. And my daughter running down and watching me is like, what? It's like just pure and utter joy to feel those feelings. Yeah, it hurts sometimes. Yeah, it's stressful. Yeah, it takes extra effort. It's totally worth it in the end.
And the amount of experiences you would have had throughout this is astronomical compared to most people. Like, just playing in a band for 1 year in a band is like 20 years of normal life. The stories you get, the people you meet, just the food you try, there's so much that happens in that time period. And we had a guest on who's an old bandmate of mine, Andrew McLeod, and we were talking about like wealth, and then the wealth of experience and life experience. And in that case, I feel like I'm friggin' Jeff Bezos over here. That way, like, I have stories about everything. Someone can just mention like taco, like, okay, I have a story about tacos I had in Guelph, or like the experiences that you get from, and not just music, just following a dream,
for sure,
following a vision. It's going to bring people into your life. It's going to bring the most interesting storylines possible in your life. And that's is that more important than money? Yeah, for some people, certainly. And again, comes down to what you value. And if that's what you're looking for, do it.
If I could make the money necessary to do this full time, like, that would be a dream.
Yeah.
If it can't be, I'll figure out a way to still do it and make the money necessary to support my family and live a happy life.
Nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with doing both either.
Yeah.
It's like Rick Rubin, you know Rick, like one of the wisest people alive. He says that if you are going to be an artist, like just solely an artist, but you're constantly worrying about surviving and making money, that's going to change what you create. You're going to be a different person. In that sense, it's going to be better for you to do something else. And when you're doing the thing you love, you can put your whole essence into it and be the true version of you. So it's not a bad thing.
Well, and I find it's an interesting point. You guys are good at this. So I find the hard part for me is, it was interesting. We were shooting these 11 episodes, and John, my right-hand man there, he said something really interesting, and he was like, I need to make sure that you are fully into what you need to be into to make a good episode.
Yeah.
And even just driving here today, I'm leaving a busy work day, and I'm driving here, and I was like, my head's not where I
you
thought
gotta
it would
switch gears.
be. Yeah, and I think I'm okay at switching gears, but am I the best at switching gears? Probably not. And I want to fully engage in the thing that I know if I do, it will be the best product I could possibly imagine that I'm capable of creating. Whereas if I'm so stuck in, oh man, I can't believe that meeting happened, or I can't believe that person said that at work, gets in your head, and you need to be able to shut that off and be able to fully engage with this. To your point, like if you're doing this full time, to Rick Rubin's point, like if you're worrying about all those other things, how is it affecting what you're trying to create?
It changes it for sure.
Yeah.
Like, that was absolutely my experience. And I think having left a corporate job, entering full-time entrepreneurship, because I was witnessing Mike be so, smooth in this world and so cool with rolling with the punches. It's all he knew. And I'm like, I can be that. No, I learned I absolutely am not that human.
I don't know how to be poor.
I do not know how to be this poor and just like stressed about it all the time. It made me for a long time feel less than. I'm less of an artist because I need this sense of security.
Right.
When I realize now it makes me a better artist and a better person just to create the life and balance that I need. And it's okay if it's different than the examples and even the heroes that you have in your life, because those were the people that you look up to. Like, I want to be like this person, so I'm going to replicate their way of life. But that doesn't work. And maybe this is obvious to others, but that was sort of the unfolding of what happened.
No, you have to figure things out.
For sure. And I think I'm guilty of doing that too. You have this idea of what it needs to be, what it looks like that you've seen other people do, but that then you're not living authentically yourself. And I'm probably still guilty of it. It's like, well, I need to hit this milestone and I have to do this and I have to do that. Like, oh my God, just breathe.
Yeah.
Like that's been big for me, is just I can't make it a competition, and I got to know that everyone works at different speeds, and maybe I hit my milestone of making it when I'm 85 years old.
Right.
Right. Yeah. Who cares?
How exciting, too.
How exciting.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty happy 85-year-old. Everybody is different. And, I hate comparison.
How do you use that mindset entering the new musical project that you mentioned earlier?
Oh, yeah. So I joined up with a few buddies to start a band called Silent Channel, which my good friend Bob had always had, and then he kind of brought a band together for literally because he got asked to play a show and he needed a band, and then we just had so much fun. We just thought let's keep going. So there's four of us: Ryan, Matt, Bob, and I. And I find my approach to writing drums for music again has changed completely. The genre of music has slightly changed, whereas it used to be kind of spastic indie rock with a crazy time signature all the time. This is more so like kind of that vibey Bon Iver type stuff, and where my head is kind of leaning towards when I like to listen to music now anyway. So it's kind of fun. It's a fun challenge for me, especially when recording, to, stay disciplined, stay in a pocket. Don't always think that you need to do something extra. And I think other musicians in the band kind of appreciate it, because you're not trying to compete for, who's the loudest or who's doing the most. It's like, our good buddy John Mullane from In-Flight Safety, like he came and kind of sat through us playing a bunch of songs, and it was just fun. That's the first time I kind of ever sat in a jam session, played songs, and really had like a producer say, okay, objectively, this is what I'm hearing. And it's really fun. It's a fun challenge. One I didn't know I was ready for. And it's like, maybe I don't need to do that. Maybe my bass drum pattern needs to calm down a little bit, because on a record, it makes no sense to do it like that. So it's really changed how I kind of approach playing on a record, playing live, because live and record don't ever need to be the same thing. If I was a professional, I probably would have said the exact opposite in that statement there. But for me, it's like, I've never played the same thing twice, and I will continue to not play the same thing twice. But that's just fun for me. And if some snoot wants to, comment on a thing being like, "Well, he's not playing like the record," well, that's not what I do.
But live you can bring energy. You can have facial expressions.
Yeah.
Like there's things you can do live,
which drummers have a lot of.
Yeah.
It's our specialty.
Yeah.
Speaking of Loel Campbell,
he has a lot. Yeah,
we picked up on that. Mike's
going.
drummer Bruce is pretty expressive as well. I find when he plays. Has playing with this many drummers now and learning their music changed or informed your own personal style?
Yeah, actually, it has. I think of Steve Lamos from American football, and it's like, I was trained. I took lessons when I was 13 for 2 years, and probably not enough time. If you're taking lessons, I probably should have kept at it, but I always used the excuse of like, I just want to be my own player.
Well, you were going to be a NBA player.
I was really busy with that.
Busy.
Like, I was busy trying.
Did you ever play with the Raptors? I have to ask.
That's how we were going to end the interview.
It turns out I was on like their 98 roster at 16 years old. Surprise. No, spoiler alert, I did not. I've only interviewed them from my time in TV. And
fun.
They're very tall. Yeah, I mean, I always wanted to be my own player or whatever the excuse was. But then when I started watching like Steve Lamos, he plays like a traditional grip. So he's holding it, holding the snare hand a little bit different. It's like, oh, that's interesting. I want to embrace that and see, I never thought I could hit the snare drum with enough beef to make a sound the way that he could. And whenever I play along to American football songs, I'll play like that just to feel it. It feels weird if I don't.
Mm-hmm.
It actually, in the episodes with him, it actually looks weird that I don't, because I want to replicate what he's doing. But yeah, for sure. It's like when I'm learning their songs, I can't just be a flashy flash drummer over a song where the guy is not doing a flash part. Like Weaker Thans are a perfect example of that. Jason Tate is one of the best drummers I've ever heard or seen. And he plays with Bahamas. He's played with Weaker Thans. Like, he plays such cool drum beats, but he knows how to be really set back and sit in the pocket. And playing those songs with him, I had to do that too. Whereas what I maybe wanted to do a little bit was like, oh man, this would be really cool here. And it's like, no, just chill. So
play to the song.
Yeah. So I think they've definitely made me more of a conscious drummer when it comes to my ear and like listening to certain things. And I just we just aired the Josh Trager interview. He plays with Sam Roberts' band. And I remember I've been this nervous before, but I got pretty nervous because this was episode 3 of the 11 that I had to do. So I like buckle up kind of thing. And we play Don't Walk Away, Eileen, and then we play Them Kids. And I said to him, I was like, okay, so how does a hi-hat pattern in Them Kids go? He's like, I don't play hi-hat. It's like, oh shit.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so we're probably gonna have to work on that. And then you'll see in the episode, I'll admit, for anybody who really cares, like my face in that episode is just pure nerves of screwing it up, because what we did is the two of us playing together, Them Kids, made up the full drum beat on the record. So we were kind of like each a half, right? So I'd never done that before.
Yeah.
So talk about having to be disciplined, because Josh is an incredible drummer when it comes to that stuff too. Knows exactly when to be in the pocket, knows exactly how to be flashy and when. And if I didn't do what needed to be done there, I literally just screw up the beat. Like anything different than what I did would have been wrong. And so yeah, long answer to your question, it's definitely changed the way I look at drum, which has been a fun challenge for me, because it used to just be Adam wails on the drum set and just has a bunch of fun. It's like, no, let's be a little bit more calculated and direction focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will wrap things up by asking if the two of you have discovered how you may have met in the past, because I know this has been a theme too.
We think we played a show together
in Ontario.
I think in Toronto.
Okay.
It's not even the band name, it's your face too.
He's got such a sweet face,
right?
Yeah.
We like I said earlier, we played so many shows at like Canadian Music Week, and we were in through Toronto a lot back then. And even like that 9 shows in 3 days, there's probably 4 bands in every bill.
Yeah.
So that's like
a
fair number of bands. And every show we'd play in Toronto, there's 4 bands on it typically.
And when you're trying to make it as a Southern Ontario band, playing Toronto is the big deal.
Yeah.
But getting a Toronto gig that was like meaningful as a suburbs of Ontario band, at least in the early 2000s, that was really tough. And I remember it was the hardest thing to get. And then when Most Serene got signed, all of a sudden these Toronto shows were being thrown at us. I was like, how am I getting them now? What did we do wrong before? And it's like, I always wanted to work with that promoter and that guy and that guy and that guy. It's like, well,
got
sometimes
your connections now.
Yeah,
Got
you
your
got the connection.
connections.
And when you get those good Toronto shows, It's like the Canadian. It was a CMW. It must have been CMW or North by Northeast. I can't remember when it was. And Most Serene Republic was the cover of Now magazine. And you say nice, but that was so nerve-wracking because it was, we go and we play this show, and I can't even remember what venue it was. I think it was like the Cathedral or something like that, or the Reverb, which was upstairs.
Okay.
And the place was packed, and they were there to see the cover of the Now magazine band. They probably maybe didn't even know who we were, but they were there for it. All of our gear breaks. And what do? We cover Clocks by Coldplay while the guitarist is getting his guitar fixed, and it was just piano and drums. I'm like,
brilliant.
People lined up to get into this building to listen to some 19-year-olds play Clocks. It was just so nerve-wracking, but like,
it's very clever.
I mean, yeah, it just like the nerves afterwards of like, we just screwed that up. And that was like an arts and crafts showcase and doing all that kind of stuff. It's like, man, just make sure your gear works.
Excuse me, I'm sure you both have 100 of those stories of just by virtue of playing that many shows, there's going to be something go wrong.
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
It's our curse and our blessing.
Curse and your blessing.
Too many.
Too many.
Well, I'm glad our paths got to cross again, perhaps in your case.
Yeah.
But
Thank you so much for having me.
It's been a real joy. And I know that we could ask, you have endless stories, and they're all fantastic. So thanks for at least sharing the tip of the iceberg.
My pleasure.
Who you are and where you're coming from. And your passion and enthusiasm for your people is really inspiring. And I'm sure that as much joy as it brings you, it's for also your guests to be seen, and for many of them maybe for the first time. So what a beautiful act of service you're giving to the world.
Thank you very much. Yeah. That's beautiful of you to say, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Yeah. And how can people find your videos, and what's the release schedule of them?
Release schedule is typically every 2 weeks. Typically on a Thursday. I'm trying to be less regimented with that, which is probably not necessarily a good idea, but we have different types of media that we do to center around an episode. Like we have a 360 camera shot of all the drumming, and we have a signed stick giveaway, and like a little teaser and like some behind the scenes photo stuff. So there's enough media to enough content to get us through that 2-week cycle. And it's on all platforms. I don't think we're on Twitter. TikTok, which I still don't understand how it works. Yeah. Facebook, Instagram, and then all the full episodes are on YouTube. Yeah. Yeah. So youtube.com/drummer to drummer. Drummer T.O. drummer.
Wonderful. Well, we'll add all the links to the show notes, of course, and in our socials, and hope that we can stay in touch and maybe hang again.
This would be so much fun.
43-years-olds.
Yes, we'll be like
taking over.
It'll be a different age the next time. Who knows?
Group
we'll
birthday.
Talk about it. Yeah. Group birthday. That's a great idea. No, thank you for having me. This is awesome.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. That was an awesome chat. Loved every second of it.
Yeah,
sweet.
Likewise. Cheers, everyone.
Thank
See you
you
next week.
Woo.
Make It with Mike and Kristen is recorded and produced by Michael S. Ryan at Hot Jupiter Sounds.
Intro and outro music by me as well.
Cover art by Emily Rankin at Take Note Graphic Design, and photography by Candace Moore.
If you cool cats want to help us out, the best way to spread the word is by telling a friend about us. Tell your mom, tell all your buds. Word of mouth is still the best way to reach people. It's free for you and helps us immensely. And if you're into it, you can like and subscribe and all that stuff too.
Another way to support us is through our Patreon. We have a number of super fun tiers and perks like bonus content, handwritten postcards, creative coaching, and so much more. Find us at patreon.com/Mike and Kristen.
For the makers, the dreamers, and the figuring it outers, have fun trying to make it out there, friends.